Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about the web developer profession. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Fredrik, will web development be here for the next 20 years? And basically, yeah, let's see if I can predict this. So for those of us who plan on being here in 20 years, I believe that yes, it will be here in 20 years. And I'll tell you why. The reason why I think it's still going to be here in 20 years is not because I think that the way that we do work is going to be the same. Because fundamentally I think that the role of, or rather what we define as a web developer is going to change over time. That's usually how it goes, right? But the role, like the actual profession itself, is probably going to be here in 20 years. Simply because there is nothing right now that would indicate that we have some innovation coming where we fundamentally change the need of what that profession provides to us. It's the same thing for quite a lot of professions where you may think about an example of an industry that is under attack right now would be the newspaper industry, who is seeing that, due to social media and in the internet and mobile devices and all of that stuff, they actually see that the need for the printed page is not as high as it used to be. In web, we don't really have that at this point. There's no trend that indicates that there's some other media right now where people are migrating from the web over to something else. And that's the thing that is your lifeblood, the need to create web applications. However, there is a need that is developing, and that's something where we touch on the thing that I was saying, that the role will change for sure. I think that the way that the web development is being done today, the fundamental, like the core thing you're doing, which basically is to produce a web application, will absolutely stay the same. But I think there's more complexity to it than that. It's more. I think that the range of people and the range of web applications that we build within web development is going to diverse, and we're going to have more examples of different applications. Examples of this is that I personally believe that the next upcoming skill set that is going to be today it is a little bit of a specialist thing, it's a little bit of a specific thing today, but I think that it's going to go over to being something like cryptography, or like a basic understanding of the cryptography libraries, and that's pretty much machine learning. Like, machine learning is not considered to be a core skill today for a web developer. It's pretty much, you can go your entire career without having to touch anything related to machine learning. But as the complexity and the need for different applications develop, this will start to kind of shift in. It's the same thing that happened with SPAs and like front end, where the need for more complicated applications pushes the industry towards different tooling, and these tools then get developed, and then you as a software developer, as a developer, you're actually, forced, that's a strong way of putting it, but you adopt these tools in order to accommodate the need that the industry has for your work, right? And that's where we got this term front-end developer, where front-end developer, it was a different thing a few years back, but today the way we define it is very tightly coupled to this sort of development that came along with SPAs and like trying to give a native feeling application experience on the web, right? And I think that that's going to continue. I think that the next thing, as I said, is going to be most likely machine learning becoming a core skill. And then on top of that, depending on, let's say, WebAssembly, which would be one of the things that is kind of on the horizon. It's not adopted by the industry today, because in order for that to happen, you actually need to have success cases, and you also need to have people who are actually actively want their application to be built this way. And that's going to take a while. But that would be another example of a skill set that might actually develop. You see, the way that, say, online games work today is, it's a very good candidate for having a migration from like OpenGL, WebGL, and like the way we do things today, and to use something like WebAssembly. So I wouldn't be surprised that if it turns out that, well, we pretty much have a very high desire. It doesn't necessarily have to be a core skill, but it's likely that something like C, C++, and Rust, and well, I suppose that Go and the other languages will be supported at some point. Like that, these languages become a very attractive thing to have on your CV, because WebAssembly takes a bigger part, as it becomes a more important part of the web developer skill toolbox. So that's pretty much how I think about it. So within 20 years, I still think that we will have the concept of a web developer or somebody who builds websites, but I think that the complexity of what you do and the amount of people that fall under this category will increase. And if we look at other industries, this is usually the trend. I mean, if we look at, say, the phone, like the mobile phone industry, it used to be the case where, like way back, a single engineer could understand all the parts that make up a phone, like a stationary phone or like a landline or something like that. And today, a mobile phone, as an example, is so complicated that it takes pretty much an entire team of people to understand the whole thing. It's not one person who knows all of the parts. It requires more and more people, because the complexity of the product that is being produced is increasing. And I think web will go the same way. So what I want you to take away from this is that I absolutely believe that the web developer, or like the web developer profession will be here in 20 years. But I do believe that the complexity of the field will increase, and the amount of people and the entropy, or like the diversity of skills that are going to be required, is going to go up. If that's usually true for most industries where something evolves. And since there's not really anything right now that is like spurring a migration from the platform of the web, there's nothing really indicating that the web is going anywhere within the next 20 years, because usually, even if we today had like a mass exodus to some other amazing media format, it would still take roughly 20, like it would take over 20 years to even get to a point where it's actually not supported anymore, which is the case with, say, the newspaper industry. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on it. Have a great day.